Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. 2021 is about to get slimy again because we finally get the return of the second season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I have been so pumped for the return of this show, and I'm not even really a big fan of isekai anime, but I just absolutely loved the premise and the development of the last season. And the second season right here wastes no time in getting to the good stuff, although it does a pretty good job of getting those who haven't watched the series or those who haven't seen the first season in a long time back on track. In fact, this isn't a recap episode or anything, but it's an episode that does a really good job of sort of building things back up to the status quo of where we were at the end of the last season. But the good news is we do get some pretty solid action at the very end, which was the perfect punctuation mark for this episode right here, featuring the return of classic characters, new characters. It's a lot of fun stuff. So like I said, this entire episode was really about getting everybody back to speed on what the entire show is all about. And if you haven't ever seen the show, here's a super quick rundown. It's about this one dude in Japan who was killed and reincarnated in a fantasy world as a tiny little slime monster, but over time he became incredibly powerful and ended up creating his very own nation of various monster groups, and now they're simply trying to thrive and survive in a massive fantasy world. There's a lot more details from there, and luckily this episode will go into the major accomplishments that the main character Rimuru Tempest and all of his allies actually accomplished, but before you know it, we're right back to the main storyline here, where Rimuru returns to his kingdom after becoming a teacher as they prepare to have a big delegation with one of the great beast lords themselves, the Demon Lord. He goes by the name of Carrion. He was shown at the end of the last season, but he has formed an alliance with Rimuru, but first they're going to have a delegation with one another, which is basically to say they're going to have some sort of like peace meeting with one another, and a few of the main characters from the Tempest Kingdom are going to go see Carrion, and some of Carrion's followers are going to come and see Rimuru, and the build up to that is astronomical to say the least. Benimaru is going to be going along with Rigor to go and see Carrion. It's not until the very end of the episode where we finally get to see the people who are actually working for him directly, and boy do they leave one hell of an impact. But like I said, most of this episode was just bringing on the classic characters again, and reestablishing that Rimuru Tempest is one of the greatest main characters of all time. There's a lot of highlights of him in this episode of interacting with a lot of his fellow comrades. There's a great scene at the very beginning of the episode where Shion is trying to get him to wear all of these brand new outfits, everything from full-on dresses and ball gowns to a freaking samurai outfit. He basically just ends up getting into his classic garb by the end of the series, but again, it's played for laughs and establishing the great personalities of these characters, and of course you get to see a lot of their favorites. One of my favorite, Gabiru, the douchebag lizard man, returns in this episode and has a few funny standout scenes. And even the character that I didn't really like all that much from the first season, Yom, has some really big importance in this episode right here. Again, he's sort of acting as like this like giant billboard for the Tempest Kingdom, going around fighting monsters and saving people, and basically putting a good name out there for the Tempest Kingdom itself. Then we have the best part of the entire episode, which are the new characters who actually show up at the very end here, the followers of Carrion, the 3 Beastketeers, which is not only a funny name, but it's just freaking awesome sounding. And basically these are like the 3 underlings of Carrion himself, and they're all incredibly different from one another. Their entrance is amazing. They come in on tiger-drawn carriages, these tigers which harness the power of electricity. I don't know what that is, but it's fucking awesome and I really love it. But we get to get introduced to all of them. The first one is a woman who goes by the name of Albus, who seems to be the wisest and calmest member of the Beastketeers, and she seems to be the kindest. But then we have the character Sufia, who essentially is a lycanthrope tiger woman, and I'm not gonna hide it. I love her character. 1, I love her design, and 2, she's just completely badass, immediately picking a fight with Rimuru and his kingdom, disgusted at the fact that it's a combination of various monsters, dwarves, and humans. She's not going to stand for all of that at all, and Rimuru actually sort of like eggs on this fight, wanting to see what's going to happen, making it seem like Yom's going to throw down with her, but no, Shion, being the one that she is, being so obsessed with Rimuru in terms of protecting both him and his honor, decides to get in a fight with her, and it's awesome. It's brief, but man, it is explosive and great. It reminds me that I absolutely love the action of this series. Every single time there's a good fight scene, it's always really well executed, and seeing these two girls just go at it is nothing short of badass. But then there's the third member of the team, who goes by the name of Grucius, a Majin who decides to fight against Yom with his knife. Yom has a ridiculously giant sword, but this guy manages to defend against him perfectly. And again, the animation here is really great, and that's basically the episode. Getting you back up to speed, showing you all those classic characters, and introducing some new ones at the end that get into a really badass fight scene. So, what's the rundown on this episode of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime? This is great. I'm so glad of this back and that it's not skipping a beat at all. Like I said, never been the biggest fan of isekai-style anime series, and this one you almost forget that it's an isekai, if only for the fact that Rimuru has become so ingrained in this fantasy world that he actually, at this point, almost feels like a perfect part of it. He just seems like a weird monster that's trying to make a kingdom of various other monsters, and it works. It continues to be one of the best things about the series, is seeing this country develop and change and become more sophisticated. That was one of the best things about the original That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and here, it's just continuing to give you the good stuff. I'm kind of glad that we got away from the school children. That was probably my least favorite thing about the last season, and you know what? It's completely inoffensive and everything. It just didn't excite me as much as some of the other things that were going on here. But again, they managed to bring them back in this episode for a few small scenes, just reestablishing that while Rimuru is going to be going back and trying to take care of things in Tempest, he is still going to care about them and sort of, you know, trying to, you know, live up to his promise of wanting to take care of them. He's already saved them from being completely erased from this world altogether, but he's still going to continue to be the teacher. And again, that's another great thing about Rimuru, is just how fantastic of a character he is. He could be really resentful about the fact that he died and, you know, he has to be forced to be a slime in this world, but he's completely embraced everything that he is at this point and simply just trying to be better for not only himself, but for all the people that he now has to take care of and have control over. And he's been doing it in such an amazingly clever way. You can really see and feel the camaraderie of all of these characters in this episode right here, and I can't wait to see where it's going to actually take us throughout the rest of the season, especially now that we have a little bit of conflict at the end with Carrion and his group. I have a feeling this conflict is going to end in a bit of a stalemate, maybe the characters finally getting over their stuff, squashing their beef, and maybe having a big party at the end, but it also could be the beginning of a brand new conflict. It's hard to see where it's going to be going, as again, it's an isekai. I believe it's based on a light novel or a manga, which I have never read, by the way, because I just don't do light novels. That's not my thing. I like to be surprised by what the show is actually going to give us, and again, this is one of those shows where you never really know what's going to happen, especially if you don't read those novels. It's hard to predict what's going to happen next, and the introduction of those characters at the end were awesome. Like I said, Sophia, I just think she's awesome. A tiger lycanthrope. I don't know, I just think that's really cool. She's a tiger woman. I'm sure she's going to go through some crazy transformations. Her overall fighting style is really wild and crazy, which is perfectly fitting for the type of character that she actually is. I can't wait to see more of what Albus is going to be like. Aside from that, she's basically just your typical sexy anime woman wizard. I don't know what the deal is with her, but I like her design. Grucius is definitely the plainest of the three, but, you know, looks can be deceiving, so I'm hoping that he'll give us something kind of interesting to see in the next episode of the series. Otherwise, I thought this was great. Production value-wise, just as good as the last season, especially in terms of the character design, and the action scenes themselves are not only really fast and fluid, but very explosive and impactful. It's the type of show that you want to make sure you want to watch with either headphones on or a really great sound system. Enhances every single action scene, and they always manage to look really freaking cool. Basically, the hype is real. I'm glad the show is back. I'm glad we got through the first episode so we can get through a lot of the exposition and get to the next major part of the story, because I am excited. But I want to hear your thoughts. I like this episode. 5 out of 5 for me. Your thoughts may differ. What did you think about the first episode of the second season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime? What did you think of those new characters being introduced at the end of the episode? Albus, Grucius, and frickin' Sophia. And what do you hope to see from the rest of the second season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime? Sound off, comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like it, smash the like button. Do it right now. Helps out these videos a lot. I would also like to take this time to thank all of my patrons. You guys are incredible. Watching my videos, subscribing to my channel, leaving me likes, but most importantly, making those monthly donations. I can't thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of super amazing people, the producers of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.